What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the struggle stream. Welcome back to Cloudology. So, today I promise it's going to be short. I'm going to cap myself at like 30 minutes. I don't want this to be an hour again, but made some updates to Minecraft. So, instead of continuing with Minecraft Bedrock, we actually decided to switch up the server to Minecraft Java Edition, which I had already done. So, this time my work is already done. I'm just going to kind of show you the changes and the updates that we made to things, right? So, with that being said, I think we can just dive right into it. And let me switch my screen here. StreamYard will let me. So here's a couple things we did. Let's take a look at our README in a pretty view over here. Let's expand this a little bit. Okay, so we have a new repository, which I will link in the description. Actually, I'll probably link it right now because it's right over here. So here's our new repository, just named Minecraft Java. It's under the same GitHub, but I'll put it in the live chat over here for those of you following along. And then on the replay, guys, I will make sure to put it in the description. So let's take a look at our changes. There's some reasons why I decided to switch up the server. So Minecraft Bedrock, while it is multi-platform and you can play it on a bunch of different things, that's cool. So you can play it on iPads, you can play it on Xbox, you can play it on PC, you can play it on whatever. However, Microsoft got their grubby little hands on Minecraft Bedrock, and surprise, surprise, they made it a little bit worse. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that deals with Microsoft at all, right? So I took this opportunity to go back to the original Minecraft, or Minecraft Java Edition, and that is playable on pretty much the PC platform, which, people actually running on the server, that's what they're playing with, minus one who happens to watch the stream a lot, which is Christian Soto. Sorry, Christian Soto. We switched to Java Edition, but you just need to play it on PC and it'll be good. So we did make a few changes that I'll show in a little bit. So let's go down to our action items. So we did not actually fix this, so I need to change that and re-add it. But we did add a complete separate network from the default VPC. So now our Minecraft server is running in its own VPC, which I'll show you guys really quick. Drag it over here. So we have our default network, which Minecraft Bedrock used to work in, but now we have our own Minecraft network with our different subnets. We just put it in the east, so it's still in the same VPC, and we have some firewalls allowing access to the Minecraft port, which is a different port. It is now port 25565. So yeah, we got that taken care of. And I also did this. I actually did this today. Is I converted all of our functions here, like our add user, which we already did. We did this last time, but I also did the start server. This is now a Python function, and it just works a lot better. And now you don't have to do like really janky stuff and zip all the files for the cloud function yourself. Terraform will do it for you. Basically, it's the exact same thing. It's just in Python now, right? So we did the same thing with stop server, which we have right here. No big deal, and I'll show you those guys over here. Go to cloud functions, so you can see the runtime is now Python 3.9, and if we look at the source, we've got our main.py here, and that's the case for all of them. So what else? What else do we have? So we did remove the shutdown scripts. I still haven't figured out a good way to soft shut down the container. And what I mean by that is Minecraft has a stop server command that you run in the container itself that will softly shut down the Minecraft server, and it saves all the data and it backs up your world and the player inventories and stuff like that before it turns off the server. So before we weren't doing that, and it wasn't saving any player data at all. So if the server ever got shut down, everything, well, not everything, so the world was still backed up, but all the player inventories were gone and the spawn points were reset. So that's obviously a problem if you wanted to keep your inventory, right? So for now, we're just leaving it running. But I did do some investigating earlier, and it looks like player data is being saved every once in a while. So I want to make sure there's a way to gracefully shut down the server. That way we avoid any data loss. What else do we do? Yeah, so we got our new networks. We converted from JS to Python. What I would like to do in the near future, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it this video, but I want to add monitoring and logging. So what I'm actually going to be doing for this is I'm going to be using Grafana. And if you don't know what Grafana is, essentially it is a monitoring platform. So you can do pretty much all types of monitoring tasks. And let's start a little bit more general. What is monitoring, right? So if we take a look at our compute instance, so Google Cloud has some kind of monitoring built in, right? But what we can do is we can look at stuff like the overview, right? So we've got a bunch of logs. These are mostly from the just container running, right? We got a couple warnings here. And then we have like a CPU utilization thing. So let's look at the last 1 month, actually. You can actually see our CPU targets are pretty good. Even at peak, we're only at like, I want to say we're probably at like 70% maybe. But it doesn't look like we got anything. They're just system logs. But I don't have any visibility into these logs at all, right? So I don't know what the server is throwing out. I don't know what kind of like container logs are being thrown out or anything like that. So we do have some traffic here, some network packets that could probably be monitored, probably not. The main thing I'm concerned about is CPU because the problem is when it gets really close to this reserved virtual CPU, the server tends to lag out a little bit. So we might have to scale up eventually in the future, which will be its own interesting process. But it'll give a good opportunity to how to do something like, I don't know, a blue to green deployment or a rolling deployment or something like that, right? Which I still need to figure out how to do specifically for Minecraft. But you can see when the average CPU gets to that reserved virtual CPU, the server starts to lag a little bit. So we're kind of hitting that upper threshold of the reserved CPU, right? But our utilization isn't too bad. So I think our max was like 77%. So anything between like, honestly, I'd say anything between like 70 to 90% is probably your optimal range for CPU usage. Just because you don't want your CPU usage down at like 30 or 50%, which means you're over provisioned, and your money is basically going to waste because you're not using all those resources, right? And then you have, if your CPU is constantly maxed out at like 90 to 100%, you're going to run into throttling issues. You're going to run into like server issues and overall server timeouts and stuff like that. So you need to scale up, whether that be horizontally or vertically. In this case, we'll probably do vertically, but which vertically just means you increase the power of the current resources you have versus, making multiple resources. So instead of having two servers that distribute load between the servers, which I don't even think is possible with a Minecraft server, you just want to increase the CPU usage, right? Which is going to cost us more money, but it's also going to stabilize the server a lot more. So my plan is to start setting up Grafana. And in order for us to do that, I already signed up for a free account, basically. So this is like cloudology.grafana.net, and it basically just gives you a free account, right? But what we need to do is we need to install the Grafana agent onto our Minecraft server, right? And I was just going to do this manually, but then I thought this is probably a good opportunity to showcase another tool, which I'm relatively familiar with. I'm more familiar with Ansible Tower, but the tool is called Ansible, right? and Ansible is essentially a configuration management tool, which allows you to make changes to like a bulk a bulk set of servers, right? Now, in our case, we only have one server, so it's not really, you don't have to use Ansible to do this because we're only going to be doing it once. But I figured it'd be kind of nice to show how the tool works a little bit and kind of, just go over it in general, because I've used Ansible Galaxy a little bit on the CLI, but like I said, most of my experience has been through playbooks, through Ansible Tower, right? That's like the enterprise level tool that we're using, but Ansible Tower is way overkill for what we're trying to do. So here is essentially what we're going to be doing today. So we need a couple things to install the Ansible agent, right? We need our Linux hosts, which we have. Surprise, surprise, it's our Minecraft server. And we need SSH access, which I do have from my IP address. So if we do something like gcloud SSH MC server v1, even though it should be v2 now, but whatever. Sorry. gcloud compute SSH. And essentially, this is just going to allow us to get into our virtual machine, right? So here you can see that I am in my MC server -v1 as the user kmouse, which is just my home name, right? And I set that up in my firewall role to explicitly allow my computer to get to this machine, right? So we have SSH access. And we need account permissions sufficient to install and use Grafana agent on the Linux host. Pretty much, if we're in the Linux host, it's going to allow pretty much anything, which granted, that is not a security best practice. I definitely think you should, gate access. And then if you want to go even further, you should definitely create users in your Linux host in order to prevent unwanted people from doing unwanted things, right? So you should have admin users that require some type of authentication. But anyway, so we're going to have to install this Grafana Ansible collection. And bear with me here because I haven't done this, and I don't think we're going to finish today. But we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, so we got it installed. That was relatively painless. So now we need an Ansible inventory file, right? So where should we put this? I think we should put this in probably the project we're working on. Yes. And then we'll probably git ignore this as well. So we can do a touch inventory. And let's open this in Visual Studio Code. And it should be here somewhere, right? Inventory, right here. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to add our host, which we're just going to use the server IP right here, which is back here. We're going to grab this guy, and an Ansible inventory is essentially just a list of all your hosts, right? And right now, we only have one host. So it's not like, so if you had like 10 servers or 100 servers, this inventory would, be 100 IP addresses long. You could do host names too. We don't have a host name set for this instance, so we're just going to use IP. And I don't think we have a host name, but it looks like it's commented out, so I don't think we need that. So we need ansible.config file within the same directory. So this just basically gives us the private SSH key, or this sets our configuration for Ansible to connect to our instances, right? So we're going to do this again. We're going to do touch ansible.cfg, right? Is that correct? Yeah. And we're going to go into here, and we're going to do defaults. And I think my VS Code already has the correct linting software. So I'm going to move this out of the way so I can stop switching back and forth. First, we need to tell it what, or like the path to the inventory file, which is in the same directory. So we can just do inventory, and we can just do inventory. So it's already here. Now we need private key file, which we need to point this to the SSH key that G-Cloud uses, which is a good question. I think this is going to be in the home/SSH directory. I think it's Google Compute Engine .pub. I'm pretty sure. We'll have to play with this. We'll have to play with this and see, because I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. Let's Google this really quick. So where does G-Cloud SSH store key? Okay, yeah. Google Compute Engine. So we need to give it that private key file. So that's this Google Compute Engine right here. And we need to point it to that directory. So it's going to be home directory.ssh / Google Compute Engine. We'll just copy that. So that doesn't happen. And then we have to set a remote user. And that's just going to be the root user. Okay. And basically that's going to allow the Ansible commands to run as root, which is what we need them to run as to install things on the file system, right? So I believe there's another playbook that we can do. There's a way to like test connection, and I think we're gonna do that first before we start installing things. Let me look that up. So Ansible ping. I think it's Ansible ping. Let's do here. Let me drag this back over so you can see what I'm Googling. Ansible test inventory connection. There's a specific way to do this, and I don't remember how to do it off the top of my head. So, glossary, testing connectivity to nodes, Ansible all ping. So we'll try that. We'll try that we'll do VS Code, Ansible all ping. Unreachable. Permission denied, public key. Okay, so that is an issue. Let me see. So I'm not there. There might be. I know what I have to do. I think the G-Cloud key, the SSH key, is specifically for G-Cloud CLI, right? So what I think I need to do is I need to generate an SSH key and then add it to the metadata in Google Cloud. So basically what we need to do, we need to do SSH keygen. This is going to be SSH keygen RSA. What does it ask for? I think probably just RSA key is fine. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to generate a new SSH key, and then we're going to upload that public key to the metadata for our instance, right? So I think we're going to do this right here. We might just do that guy, because I think the default is going to be, stop ads, please. So SSH keygen is just a command that generates an SSH key, right? We're just going to save it right there. We're not going to worry about a passphrase. Definitely always use a passphrase for your SSH keys in any type of production environment. Just want to give that caveat. Okay, so now we have our idrsa.pub. So we need to cat the idrsa.pub. This is a public key, so y'all can see this. This is totally fine. So we're going to grab this guy. And then we're going to go into VM instances. We need to go to metadata right here under settings, SSH keys, and we're going to edit this. We're going to add an item, and we're going to do this guy right here and hope that this actually works correctly, because it looks like it's going to be the same, but we'll see. We'll also see if this just works with normal SSH, I think. Also, I should probably check that my IP address is the same. I have 2 networks at home, so okay, yeah, that should be fine. So let's grab this IP and see if we can just SSH into here. So if we do SSH-I /ID RSA, and then suke-mouse at there. I think that'll get us there. Yeah, okay. Totally cool. So that works for us normally. Now let's see if this works for Ansible. Oh, what we might have to do is use kmouse for the remote user. So let's do this. Yeah, okay. So we can use our old key. That's totally fine. So we're just going to do that. This is just the default key, essentially. So I'm actually going to remove it just because I don't want extra keys floating around on my instance. Again, it's just a Minecraft instance, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's make sure we're removing the correct one. I believe it's key 2, but let's just take a look anyway. Yes, DCGHM. Yeah, okay. We can delete that guy, and then we'll remove this. Just rm-rf idrsa star, and we should be good. Okay. Nuked that one. So we have our Ansible ping working. So we know that we have connectivity to our instance, and it's actually pretty quick. So let's check out our next steps. So we need an Ansible playbook, and what a playbook is, essentially, it's just a list of declarative commands. So if we take a look at this, what do we want to do? We want to install the Grafana agent on all the hosts, and this become flag just means you want to become the root user. So it's going to use sudo su to become the root user, right? You're going to pass in some variables right here. So I don't know where the hell these are in my account, so I'm definitely going to have to look for those. Yeah, I don't know the metrics username. I don't know any of that. Honestly, I just signed up for the account like a couple minutes ago, so we're going to have to figure this out as we go. So this install YAML file is going to have a few tasks assigned to it, right? These are the variables it's going to use, so just environment variables. What we're going to do is we're going to do install Grafana agent, and essentially it's going to, this is Ansible's own like command in Ansible, right? So this is just, it's already built into Ansible. So it already has a Grafana agent, you know, whatever Ansible calls the, I guess, built-in tool that installs Ansible, right? So it already knows what to use. So you're going to give it the variables it's going to use. So this is just our authentication, the Prometheus URL, which I'll explain a little bit later. then we got to set like the scrape interval. And what that means is, so the scrape interval, it hits an endpoint that is exposed on your server, which I believe we still have to configure. I'm not 100% sure how that works just yet. And essentially every 60 seconds, it's going to scrape that endpoint for data. And we're exposing the logs to this Grafana server, right? So there's going to be some configuration we're going to have to do with this guy. Also, it's going to ask what logs we want to scrape. So we're going to add a couple configs to this agent because I want it to scrape a few different things from the server. Not only do I want the Linux logs, so I want more than just like CPU usage and like access logs and I don't know, system logs and stuff like that. I also want the Minecraft server logs. Like I also want those things. And then I also want it to read like other metrics like CPU usage, memory usage, and stuff like that. So that is all going to have to be configured. However, I'm running out of time today. So essentially what we're going to do, this is just going to be a template playbook. Okay. So next you'll create an Ansible playbook that calls the Grafana agent role from the Grafana agent Ansible collection. They're called Ansible collections. So Ansible built this thing out to actually work correctly, right? And we're just going to build it in the same directory. We're going to call it the same thing. We're going to call it, what do they call it in this tutorial? Deploy agent.yaml. So we're going to do that. Here, we're going to go back to our GitHub topology, and then we have Minecraft, right? We're going to do touch, rutch, touch. Oh, I cannot spell today. Touch. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I've ever explained this before, but the touch command, essentially, if the file does not exist, it'll create it. I don't know the specifics on how it works. I just use it to create new files, right? I should probably learn that. And what I'm going to do just for more concise or more clear, so we don't have to keep reading off this documentation, right? I'm just going to copy the entire contents of this in here. And then we're going to have to update a couple of these variables. So these environment vars have to be correct. And I'm going to get that information for my next stream, which might actually do this weekend. But I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I want to do some other stuff versus like tutorial hell that we're doing right now, right? But I think this is where we're going to call it for today. So we've already got like Ansible installed. We've already got our inventory set up. And then we've already got, I covered the changes we made. And then, yeah, basically we want to just monitor this Minecraft instance. And that way we can set up like alerting too, which I'm not going to be on call for a Minecraft server, of course. But, you know, just kind of like showing you all the ropes, maybe a little bit. So I think that's going to do it for me today, guys. Again, I wanted to keep this kind of short because an hour is just way too much, but there's not a lot you can get done in 30 minutes, turns out. So next stream, we're going to come back. I would like to get this agent installed on the VM. I need to find out my variables, you know, my Grafana URL, my Loki stuff, and my API key. I need to put that somewhere, and I don't want to put it like directly in the Ansible file. That's probably bad practice. But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you very much for watching, and peace out. I will see you guys next time. And Bigfoot exists. Look at that. See? Appeal to truth. Later, guys.